Hello and welcome back to 5 Minute Geography. However, this season we're going to be focusing on the Leaving Certificate Geography paper and getting them all important H1 answers by explaining as simply as possible the world around us. So, whether you're a student gearing up for exams or a teacher looking for extra resources, you're in the right place. So, subscribe to stay updated and let's tackle this course together. Our focus today will be Dublin. In terms of its location, if we just have a look, it's located, as we said, on the east coast and comprises mainly of Dublin, but again, it's one of the smallest but most populated regions. Physical features, it tends to be mostly flat or undulating land. The main drainage feature is, of course, the River Liffey, and the land rises very sharply to the south, and we know them as the Dublin Wicklow Mountains. Here's an overview of Dublin, as you can see. North of the Dublin Mountains, the relief of the Dublin region is made up mainly of lowland area. So we have all of this land is flat lowland area. Okay, here we have the Dublin Wicklow Mountains, but the rest of it we have flat undulating land. As a result of that, we can say the agriculture in Dublin is very well developed, and the reason being fertile soils, and we discuss this here, so you'll need to discuss this in more detail. Fertile soils, flat land. If you have flat land, you can have machines on your farm. If your farm is on rugged land or on a real sloped land, well then you can't have machines. Now, Dublin can have machines because the land is very flat, so we have large farms. Large farms, flat land means mechanisation. Mechanisation means you can get a lot more out of the land, so high productivity. It's well drained, and we said it was well drained by the River Liffey. It was well drained by the Dodder. It was well drained by the surrounding rivers. So if you look at Clondalkin is drained by the Camac, and so on. So well drained means there's a river there to drain the excess water. A long growing season, and again, growing season means the amount of days you have to grow crops, and Ireland, particularly Dublin, has a very high growing season. Large farms, and we have young dynamic farmers. In Dublin, as opposed to the west of Ireland where the farmers tend to be of an older age, in Dublin we have young dynamic farmers. Dynamic meaning constantly changing. So in Dublin we have a large amount of young people studying agricultural science in colleges to get more productivity out of their farms. So we have a well-educated farming system. We also have a larger market, and what that means is if we look at Dublin's population, it's about 1.5 million people, or a little bit more. Well, we have a large amount of people to sell our product to. If you compare that to the west of Ireland's population is very low, so the market isn't there, or the customers aren't there. If you look at Dublin, well, Dublin, a huge market, a lot of people, but also we're closer to Europe, where there's about 500 million people that we can sell our product to. Also, our market in Dublin is bigger because we have the airport and ports to fly out internationally. Massive transport system. Again, I discussed the M50, the infrastructure there with the airport and ports. That's good for getting your goods in and out, so import and export. The types of agriculture then we have in Ireland, we have a thing called dairy and tillage farming. So just in terms of tillage farming, County Dublin farms are very productive. So there's a high portion of the land is just devoted to tillage crops. Now what are tillage crops? Well, you're looking at wheat, barley, potatoes, okay? 11% of the wheat for all of Ireland and 15% of potatoes for all of Ireland are grown in County Dublin. Why? Well, it's because of the flat, undulating landscape that's found in the west and the north of Dublin that make the land very suitable for machines. Machines means high productivity, okay? As well as the brown earth soils, making it ideal for tillage. So very suitable for dairy and tillage farming. Tillage being the most dominant, wheat, potatoes and so on. Most of it is concentrated in the west and the north. You have a thing called market gardening, and what market gardening is, it's mainly dominant in North County Dublin, and it's like specialist farms, okay? And these specialist farms specialise with potatoes, fruit, vegetables, flour production. Vegetables that are sold tend to be lettuce, spring onions, cucumbers and all that are grown in massive glass tunnels. Very high yielding, high value crops, and the market gardeners are labour intensive, so many farmers work in the area, so they're working all under one roof. Market gardening is an example of an economic activity where physical, economic and human processes are combined to make this huge profitable activity. Alright, so the market gardening tends to be for fruit and veg in massive glass houses. Just a little recap on the types of agriculture. Well, total crops, fruit and horticulture accounts for 44%, pasture about 37%, and then you have rough grazing, silage, hay and permanent pasture. Okay. In terms of fishing and in Dublin, well, it's a hugely important primary economic activity. The large population means that we have, not only do we have a market to sell our product to, but we also have the workers to work in our fisheries. So they tend to be in Howth and Skerries are the most dominant ones. The types of catch is mainly demersal species and shellfish. So that's cod, whiting, hake, plaice, that type of fish. Okay. Shellfish also are caught, such as prawn and shrimp. Dublin are also famous for cockles and mussels. Now, overfishing is a problem because when we joined the EU, we opened up our waters to all the European countries. So overfishing has reduced the stock in the Irish Sea, and it tends to pose a threat to the future of the industry. So Irish fishing boats are now under restrictions from the EU. So there's now a quota you can catch, a total amount that you're only allowed fish. Okay, so there you go. That is the first section of regional geography in terms of Ireland and its core region. What did we do? Well, we looked at Ireland as a region as a whole, and we said Ireland can be divided into core and peripheral. The core region that we're studying is Dublin and the Greater Dublin area. We looked at Dublin firstly in terms of primary economic activity. So farming, the types, the locations, and fishing, the type and location. If there's a particular topic you'd like covered or something you're struggling with, feel free to get in touch in the comment section below, and I'll aim to cover it in future videos. So subscribe to stay updated, and let's tackle this course together.